Captain Alex Monroe sat in the small cockpit of his reconnaissance ship, staring at the vast stretch of stars before him. The mission had seemed routine at first. Humanity had long been aware of the alien empire ruled by Queen Zira, but contact had always been limited. Humans were considered minor players in the galaxy, and Earth's leaders wanted intelligence, not confrontation. Alex's task was simple: gather data, observe the empire, and return safely. As his ship approached the outer defenses of Zira's planet, a sudden warning light blinked on. Sensors picked up a fleet of alien ships converging on his position. The calm voice of the ship's AI warned him, "Unknown vessels approaching. Identification hostile." Alex's fingers flew across the controls. "Evasive maneuvers," he muttered, engaging the ship's thrusters. Despite his efforts, the alien ships were faster and more numerous. Within minutes, his small craft was surrounded. A bright beam of light locked onto his ship, and before he could react, he was pulled out of space and into a containment field. Systems failed. Alex gritted his teeth as the ship powered down. He knew he had been captured. When he awoke, he was no longer in his ship. The room was vast and filled with soft, glowing light. The walls seemed alive, shifting in color and texture. Alex rose slowly, scanning the chamber. At the far end, a figure stood on a raised platform. A tall alien woman with regal posture, her skin shimmering with a subtle metallic hue. Her eyes were large and intelligent, radiating authority. "Captain Alex Monroe of Earth," the figure said, her voice clear and commanding. "You are far from home. Welcome to my court." Alex took a careful step forward. "I am here on a mission of observation. I mean no harm to your people." The alien queen's eyes narrowed slightly. "Observation," she repeated, almost as if testing the word on her tongue. "Humans are not known for caution or subtlety. You claim to mean no harm, yet you entered my territory uninvited." Alex kept his tone calm, steady. "I followed orders from my government. I wanted only to study and learn, not to fight or interfere." Queen Zira studied him silently for a long moment. Her attendants hovered nearby, whispering in a language Alex did not understand. Despite the barrier of language, Alex could sense their tension. Every movement in the chamber was deliberate, controlled. Nothing escaped their notice. Finally, the queen spoke again. "You are different." Calm, composed, not afraid, curious. "Tell me, human, do you always carry such confidence?" Alex hesitated, choosing his words carefully. "I know my mission and I know my limits. Fear can be useful, but it should never control you." The queen tilted her head, observing him. "Interesting," she said. "You are one of the first humans I have met who does not tremble before my presence. Most would cower. You, however, do not. This is unusual." Alex offered a small nod. "I respect your authority, but respect does not require fear." A murmur ran through the attendants. The queen's expression remained unreadable, though a flicker of curiosity passed through her eyes. She gestured for Alex to follow her. The corridor outside was immense. Light flowed along the walls in streams, almost like liquid, and Alex felt a strange sense of calm despite the grandeur. Queen Zira walked with a grace that seemed natural, each step commanding attention without effort. "You will remain under observation," she said, her voice echoing slightly, "but I wish to understand you. Humans are unpredictable. Perhaps it is time to study one more closely." Alex nodded. "I will cooperate." Days passed and Alex found himself under constant surveillance. He was allowed to move freely within certain areas, but was always aware of observers. Zira's advisors spoke in hushed tones whenever he entered the room, often exchanging glances that spoke of surprise and confusion. Despite the scrutiny, Alex began learning quickly. He observed the alien culture, their communication methods, the way they organized themselves, the subtle gestures that signified rank and intention. He realized that even the smallest action could have great meaning in their society. He also discovered patterns in their defense systems. Even the most advanced networks had gaps, and the aliens had habits that were predictable if one paid close attention. Alex made mental notes, careful not to reveal his full understanding too soon. One evening, Queen Zira summoned him again. She appeared at the edge of the chamber, her form illuminated by the soft glow of the walls. "You observe much," she said. "You notice patterns that my own advisors fail to see. How is it that a human can understand so quickly?" Alex shrugged lightly. "We learn by necessity. Observation is survival. The queen regarded him silently. You speak boldly, and yet you survive. Boldness is rare among your kind. Alex caught a hint of amusement in her tone. Perhaps humans are more adaptable than they appear. A brief silence followed. Then Zira spoke again, her voice firm. You intrigue me, human. Many here underestimate your species. They believe humans are simple, weak, predictable. You challenge that notion. Alex felt a subtle shift in the atmosphere. He had expected hostility, suspicion, maybe even fear. But what he saw in Zira's eyes was curiosity, a rare quality in a ruler who had encountered countless beings across the galaxy. Thank you, Your Majesty, he said. I only act according to what I know and what I must do. That may appear different, but it is the same for all intelligent beings. Zira studied him for a long moment, then nodded. You will remain under observation, but I will allow you to move within my court. Let us see what other surprises you may bring. As he walked back to his quarters, Alex reflected on what had just happened. He had expected to be feared, captured, or dismissed. Instead, he had earned a measure of attention and perhaps respect from one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. He also knew that observation alone would not be enough. To truly survive and to make his mission meaningful, he would need to act when the opportunity arose. And in doing so, he would have to rely on his intelligence, his instincts, and his understanding of both humans and aliens. The next days were filled with careful study. Alex learned the routines of the court, the hierarchy of Zira's advisors, and the subtle ways in which decisions were made. He practiced small interactions, observing how even tiny gestures were interpreted. He also noticed that not all in the court were hostile. Some officers and attendants seemed impressed by his calm demeanor and quick understanding. A few even offered subtle guidance, testing his responses and challenging his assumptions. Queen Zira herself watched him constantly. She conducted subtle tests, posing questions in unusual ways, observing how he approached challenges, and noting how he reacted under pressure. Each time Alex demonstrated ingenuity and composure, it became clear that the queen had not met a human like him before. His unpredictability, coupled with calm observation and reasoning, was something the aliens could not easily categorize. Late one evening, Alex sat in his quarters, reviewing his observations. He knew that humans had often been underestimated across the galaxy, but here in the heart of Zira's empire, he realized that he could turn that underestimation into advantage. He also knew the risks. One wrong move, one misstep in understanding alien behavior could cost him everything. But Alex had faced danger before. He had trained for it, and he had survived situations that others would have considered impossible. As he prepared for rest, he glanced out of a small viewport at the alien city sprawling beneath him. Towers glowed with bioluminescent light. Vehicles floated silently through the air, and in the distance he could see the palace where Queen Zira ruled. He smiled faintly. One step at a time, he muttered to himself. Observation first. Action when the time comes. And somewhere above, Queen Zira observed him too, her eyes narrowing slightly, a flicker of curiosity and caution in her gaze. She had expected fear, submission, and perhaps ignorance. Instead, she had found intelligence, confidence, and an unexpected calm. This human soldier was different, and she could feel in a way that made her uneasy that he might change everything she thought she knew about humans. For the first time in her long reign, she felt a mixture of respect and uncertainty. Something about this human, something small yet undeniable, had caused a ripple in her understanding of the galaxy. And Alex Monroe, unaware of the full extent of his impact, prepared quietly for the days ahead, ready to observe, learn, and act when the opportunity finally came. Captain Alex Monroe spent his days learning as much as he could about Queen Zira's empire. The palace was a maze of corridors, observation rooms, and chambers that shimmered with soft light. Every day he watched the routines of the court, noting the subtle hierarchy among advisors, soldiers, and servants. He observed the queen herself, the way she moved, the way she commanded attention without effort, and the way she seemed to weigh every word and action around her. It quickly became clear to Alex that this was no ordinary empire. Every decision, even those that seemed small or ceremonial, had a purpose. The aliens were disciplined, highly organized, and meticulous in ways humans rarely experienced. But Alex also noticed patterns, small gaps in coordination, habits repeated too predictably, and weaknesses in their communication network that a clever observer could exploit. One morning, Queen Zira summoned him again. The chamber was quiet, her attendant standing silently at the sides. "You continue to observe," she said, her voice calm but firm. "Tell me, human, what do you see that others miss?" Alex took a deep breath. "Your empire is vast and your people are skilled, but even the most organized systems have patterns. I notice repetition, reliance on predictable routines and places where information moves slowly between divisions." The Queen raised an eyebrow. "You speak boldly, human. Most would not dare critique my empire even indirectly." Alex nodded. "I am not criticizing. Observation is not judgment. I only note what I see. Patterns can be useful for understanding, not just for attack." Zira studied him carefully. For the first time, Alex sensed a flicker of genuine curiosity. The Queen was intrigued by his ability to see what others overlooked. Most humans would have been intimidated or defensive, but Alex's calm and direct approach set him apart. "Very well," she said. "I will allow you a demonstration of your understanding. You may assist with a simulation in our command chamber." The simulation was a holographic map of the Empire, showing troop movements, defenses, and communication lines. Alex quickly analyzed the setup. He noticed that while the aliens' technology was advanced, their reliance on rigid protocols made certain responses predictable. A small disruption at a key point could create cascading effects that slowed their response time. He suggested a few changes in strategy: how to reposition units more effectively, how to protect communication lines, and how to anticipate unexpected moves. Zira's advisors whispered among themselves, clearly skeptical, but the Queen listened closely. When the simulation ran with Alex's suggestions, the results were noticeably improved. The alien forces performed more efficiently, and potential vulnerabilities were covered. Zira's eyes narrowed slightly in thought. "You are effective," she admitted. "Even in a controlled simulation, your understanding of strategy is impressive." Alex nodded, careful not to show pride. "I rely on observation, intuition, and experience. Humans often approach problems differently, especially when the rules are unfamiliar. That can be an advantage." Over the next few days, Alex continued to learn and subtly test his ideas. He was careful not to overstep boundaries, but he couldn't resist experimenting. He noticed small inconsistencies in patrol schedules, communication delays, and the tendency of some officers to follow protocol even when circumstances changed. One evening, while reviewing a holographic map alone, he discovered a potential flaw in the planet's outer defenses. A minor security relay had a timing gap that, if exploited correctly, could allow unauthorized movement near sensitive areas. Alex knew it was minor, but in the wrong hands it could be critical. He debated whether to mention it to the Queen. Revealing flaws in her defenses could be seen as bold or disrespectful, but Alex understood that demonstrating understanding could gain her trust. Carefully, he prepared a report and requested an audience. Zira appeared promptly, her eyes sharp as ever. "You have called for me. Speak." Alex explained the potential vulnerability calmly and methodically, emphasizing that it was an observation, not a criticism. "I only report what I see. It may be minor, but attention to small details can prevent larger problems." The Queen's expression was unreadable at first. Her advisors murmured nervously, glancing between her and Alex. But Zira considered his words carefully. "You see what many do not. You do not act out of fear or ambition, but out of reason." "That is unusual," Alex nodded. "Observation is the first step. Action must be guided by understanding." Zira's eyes seemed to gleam with something like approval. "Very well. I will consider your observation. You continue to surprise me, human. Perhaps there is more to your species than I believed." For the first time, Alex felt that his approach, calm, observant, and respectful, was working. The Queen's attitude was shifting subtly. She no longer seemed only suspicious. There was a hint of interest, almost admiration. The following days brought small opportunities for Alex to test his knowledge in practical ways. He observed troop drills, noted patterns in communication, and quietly suggested small improvements to a few lower-ranking officers. His ideas were cautious and non-intrusive, but the results were noticeable. The drills ran smoother, response times improved, and minor inefficiencies were corrected. Some officers began to respect him. They whispered to one another, noting that the humans' observations were accurate and often insightful. It was rare for outsiders to gain such influence, even indirectly. Alex recognized the risk. Some might resent a human gaining recognition. He remained careful, balancing discretion with usefulness. One afternoon, the Queen called him to a more private chamber. The light was soft, the walls glowing faintly. Zyra regarded him with her usual intensity. "You continue to learn quickly," she said. "You see patterns, anticipate moves, and influence outcomes. Humans are unpredictable, yet you are effective. How is it that you understand so much so quickly?" Alex thought for a moment. "We survive by learning, Your Majesty. Observation, adaptability, and quick thinking are necessary for survival. We may be underestimated, but that does not mean we are incapable." Zyra's eyes lingered on him. "Your kind has been dismissed across the galaxy. But I see qualities that are rare, perhaps unique. Calm under pressure, insightful, not easily manipulated. You are different." Alex kept his tone steady. "I do not seek to be different. I seek only to act correctly, to understand, and to survive. If that sets me apart, it is not intentional." The Queen nodded slowly. "Intentional or not, you have captured my attention. I am uncertain how to respond. Most beings would have crumbled under observation, under scrutiny. You do not. That is unexpected." As the days passed, Alex continued to demonstrate the value of his perspective. He was careful not to reveal too much of human capability at once, but he subtly influenced decision-making, improved efficiency, and solved small problems that others could not. Each success increased the Queen's respect, and her shock that a single human could have such an effect. Alex also noticed that some advisors were growing uneasy. They whispered behind closed doors, questioning the wisdom of listening to a human soldier, but their concerns were tempered by results. Each time Alex suggested an improvement, the Empire benefited. One evening, while reviewing data alone, Alex realized the true significance of his position. He was no longer just an observer. He had the potential to influence decisions at the highest levels. The thought was both exhilarating and dangerous. A single misstep could undo everything he had accomplished. He took a deep breath and reminded himself of the mission: learn, survive, and observe. Action would come only when necessary. But he also knew that his unique perspective, the human ability to think differently, to adapt, and to see what others could not, gave him a quiet power. And Queen Zyra, watching from her chambers, could feel it too. The calm, intelligent human before her was unlike any being she had met. He was neither weak nor submissive. He was clever, resourceful, and unpredictable. That unpredictability, combined with skill and courage, created a tension she had not expected. By the end of the second week, Alex's presence had caused subtle shifts in the court. Advisors who had dismissed humans now regarded him cautiously. Officers who had doubted his abilities now respected him. And the Queen herself, though still cautious, was increasingly intrigued. She had entered this situation expecting to see a frightened, inferior species. Instead, she found a human who could observe, adapt, and act in ways that even seasoned aliens could not anticipate. And deep in her thoughts, a quiet shock began to form. This human, this one soldier, was changing her perception of humanity. Alex, meanwhile, continued his careful study, aware of the growing tension, and prepared for the next stage of his mission. Observation had brought him this far, but he knew that one day soon action would be necessary. And when that day came, he intended to be ready. The day began like any other in the palace of Queen Zyra. Captain Alex Monroe had spent weeks observing the routines, analyzing patterns, and slowly earning cautious respect. But that morning the calm was shattered. Alarms blared throughout the palace, echoing through corridors and chambers. Red lights pulsed, casting the walls in a harsh glow. Alex felt a jolt of adrenaline. The ship's AI, he had managed to integrate part of it into the palace systems, whispered urgently in his mind. Unusual activity detected. Multiple breaches in outer defenses. Estimated threat level, high. He ran toward the central command chamber where advisors were already gathered. Queen Zyra stood at the center, her expression sharp, her glowing eyes scanning the holographic displays floating above the table. Her attendants moved quickly but efficiently, relaying reports. "What is happening?" she demanded. Her voice, though commanding, carried a hint of tension. Your Majesty, one advisor began, voice tight. A rogue faction within the Empire has mobilized. They have attacked several key outposts and are advancing toward the capital. Their objective appears to be to destabilize your rule. The Queen's eyes flicked to Alex. She had watched him closely over the past weeks, noting his calm demeanor and strategic thinking. He now seemed to radiate a quiet intensity. Captain Monroe, she said, you have observed our systems closely. What do you advise? Alex stepped forward, his mind racing. He had analyzed the weaknesses in their communication and troop movements, and now a real test had arrived. We need to act quickly, he said. Your forces are strong but predictable. If we can anticipate the rebels' moves and disrupt their coordination, we can slow their advance and protect key areas. The advisors murmured among themselves, clearly skeptical of the human soldier's confidence. Zyra, however, did not interrupt. She was curious, even intrigued by this human who had consistently seen patterns others missed. What do you propose? She asked. Alex pointed at the holographic map. We need to divide your forces strategically. Send small mobile units to intercept the rebels at key junctions. Use decoys to mislead them. Most importantly, maintain communication through multiple redundant channels to prevent disruption. I can guide a small team to oversee these movements. The Queen considered his words. Her instincts told her that humans were resourceful, but she had never trusted one with such responsibility. Yet the situation was dire, and Alex's confidence was compelling. She nodded slowly. Very well. You will lead a team of our elite soldiers. Follow your strategy. But know this, failure is not acceptable. Alex nodded. Understood. He was quickly escorted to a group of elite alien soldiers. They were tall, armored, and armed with advanced weaponry, their expressions a mixture of curiosity and doubt. Alex had little time for introductions. Listen carefully, he said. Follow my lead. We move quickly, strike at key points, and stay coordinated. Trust me, and we can stop this without unnecessary loss. The soldiers exchanged glances. Their leader, a tall officer named Varric, nodded reluctantly. We will follow your orders, human. But we reserve judgment on your methods, Alex smiled faintly. Fair enough. Let's get to work. The operation began immediately. Alex guided the team through narrow corridors, using his knowledge of patterns and routines to avoid direct confrontation with large rebel groups. They set up decoys, small glowing drones mimicking troop movements, while real forces moved silently to intercept the rebels at critical junctions. The first clash was tense. A rebel unit attempted to breach a communication hub. Alex instructed his team to use non-lethal disruption fields to block their movement, buying time for reinforcements. The rebels were skilled, but they had not anticipated such clever tactics. Within minutes, the unit was neutralized with minimal casualties. Good work, Alex said, keeping his voice calm. Keep moving. Anticipate their next target. As they progressed, Alex realized the rebels were using predictable patterns, much like the Empire's own forces. He adjusted on the fly, repositioning units to intercept before the rebels could reach their objectives. Each decision was made with careful observation and quick judgment. Back in the central chamber, Queen Zyra watched the operation unfold on the holographic map. Her eyes widened in surprise. The human strategy was not only effective but also innovative. He anticipated moves that her most experienced generals had not considered. She leaned forward, voice low, almost to herself. This human. He is extraordinary. Hours passed and the battle continued. Alex's team moved with precision, intercepting rebel advances and protecting key locations. He coordinated reinforcements, guided troops, and adjusted tactics in real time. The palace was safe, communication lines were maintained, and the rebellion began to falter. Despite the chaos, Alex remained calm, thinking several steps ahead. He recognized that the human's unpredictability, combined with his careful observation of alien patterns, gave him an advantage even against superior numbers. Finally, after a tense day of strategy and maneuvering, the rebel forces were pushed back, their leaders captured, their plans disrupted, and their communication networks disabled. The immediate threat was neutralized. Queen Zyra entered the command chamber, her presence commanding attention. She walked directly to the holographic map, her eyes scanning the displays. The advisors looked relieved but still astonished at how a single human had influenced the outcome. Captain Monroe, she said, her voice steady but carrying a rare note of emotion. You have done something unexpected. Your strategy saved key areas of my empire and prevented widespread loss. Your actions were remarkable, Alex bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. I acted on what I observed and what I knew of patterns. I only sought to protect lives and stop the rebellion quickly. The Queen studied him for a long moment. You are unlike any human I have encountered. You do not act out of fear, ambition, or impulse. You act with intelligence, foresight, and courage that is rare. Alex felt a quiet sense of accomplishment, but he remained humble. I am glad I could help. That is all any soldier can do. The court remained silent, the advisors exchanging whispers. They had witnessed firsthand how a single human soldier, using observation, strategy, and adaptability, had influenced the course of a serious crisis. Many of them were still skeptical, but results spoke louder than doubt. Zira's eyes softened slightly. You have caused a shock in more ways than one. Not only did you anticipate the rebels, but you also revealed possibilities that my own advisors overlooked. Humans may not be what I believed, Alex nodded. Perceptions can be changed by action. Humans have survived and thrived by adapting and learning quickly. That is what you saw today. The Queen stepped closer, her presence imposing yet measured. Your success today will not be forgotten. You have shown that even a single human can influence events in ways I did not expect. This changes how I see your species. Alex felt the weight of her words. He had acted not for recognition, but because the situation demanded it. Yet now his actions were being acknowledged by one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. It was a rare honor, and a clear signal that humans could not be underestimated. Over the next few days, the palace slowly returned to normal. The rebellion was contained, the Empire's defenses strengthened, and the court began to adjust to the new understanding that humans could be formidable, intelligent allies rather than minor players. Alex continued to observe and learn, but now with an added layer of influence. He had proven that a single soldier, relying on strategy, adaptability, and careful observation, could make a difference even in a vast alien empire. Queen Zira, meanwhile, could not shake the shock of the day. She had faced countless beings, countless threats, yet a single human soldier had surprised her, not with sheer strength, but with intelligence, foresight, and calm leadership. For the first time in her reign, she felt that humans were not merely unpredictable, they were capable, resourceful, and perhaps even extraordinary in ways that deserved respect. Alex, aware of his growing influence, continued his careful study. He understood that this was only the beginning. Observation and intelligence had brought him this far, but future challenges would demand not only strategy, but courage, adaptability, and decisive action. And somewhere in the palace, Queen Zira watched quietly, still processing the shock caused by one human soldier who had altered the course of events in ways she could never have imagined. The palace had settled into an uneasy calm. The rebellion had been quelled, and Queen Zira's empire was secure for the moment. But the echoes of what had happened, the unexpected success of Captain Alex Monroe, still lingered throughout the court. Many advisors whispered in private chambers, questioning how a single human soldier had influenced events that seasoned generals had struggled to contain. Alex, meanwhile, continued his quiet observations. He had learned much about alien culture, strategy, and communication in the past weeks, and now he was beginning to test how far his influence could reach. He walked through the palace corridors with a careful awareness, noting who watched him, who whispered, and who seemed impressed by his calm and measured demeanor. That afternoon, Queen Zira summoned him to a private chamber. The light was soft and almost soothing, a sharp contrast to the tense atmosphere of the command room. She stood by a holographic display showing troop positions and trade routes. Captain Monroe, she began, her tone formal but tinged with curiosity. You have demonstrated skill and insight beyond what I expected. The rebellion was stopped and our forces responded with efficiency I have not seen in decades. Your contribution was remarkable, Alex bowed slightly. Thank you, Your Majesty. I only acted according to what I observed and knew. My goal was to prevent loss and protect your people. The Queen studied him. You have gained the respect of some officers, and even some advisors hesitate to question you now. That is unusual. Humans rarely inspire such trust in alien minds. Alex nodded. Humans rely on observation, reasoning, and cooperation. We understand the value of both authority and initiative. That may appear unusual, but it is practical. Zira's eyes lingered on him, thoughtful. Practicality is admirable. Yet some among my court are wary of your influence. They question why a human is consulted at all. They feel it challenges tradition. I do not seek to challenge tradition, Alex said. I seek only to contribute when I am able for the benefit of your empire. The queen was silent for a moment. Then she said, very well. I will allow you more freedom to advise and observe. But remember, Captain Monroe, trust is fragile. Actions and words carry weight. One mistake and respect can vanish. I understand, Alex replied. Over the following days, Alex began interacting more with the palace's officers and advisors. He offered subtle guidance on troop movements, communication strategies, and even trade logistics. Each suggestion was carefully crafted to improve efficiency without overtly challenging anyone's authority. Slowly, people began to notice results. Response times improved. Coordination was smoother, and small errors were corrected before they became problems. Some officers, initially skeptical, found themselves quietly impressed. A few began consulting him directly, asking for advice on matters they had previously handled independently. Alex remained patient and professional, careful not to show pride, but the results spoke for themselves. One afternoon, while reviewing security protocols, Alex noticed a minor flaw in the palace's surveillance network. A timing gap in the monitoring system could allow someone to move undetected for a brief period. While it was minor, Alex knew that addressing it would demonstrate both vigilance and value. He requested an audience with the Queen and explained the situation calmly. I only report what I observe. The gap is small, but attention to detail can prevent larger problems. Zira listened intently, her expression unreadable. Her advisors shifted uneasily, uncertain whether this was boldness or recklessness. But after a moment, the Queen spoke. You see what others overlook. You act without fear, without seeking personal gain. That is unusual for your species. Alex nodded. Observation and action go hand in hand. Ignoring details can be dangerous. Acting only for results is practical. Zira's eyes softened slightly. You have caused me to reconsider my assumptions about humans. Perhaps we have underestimated you for too long. As Alex continued his work, he noticed subtle changes in the palace. Officers who had dismissed him now approached with cautious respect. Advisors who had doubted his abilities no longer openly questioned him. Even those who remained skeptical began to acknowledge that his insights had value. Yet not everyone welcomed his influence. Some advisors, proud of their own experience and long-standing positions, whispered behind closed doors. They warned the Queen that a human gaining recognition could disrupt the balance of authority. Alex was aware of their disapproval, but chose to act with patience. He knew that results, not arguments, would earn respect. One evening, Queen Zira called him to the observation balcony overlooking the city. The alien metropolis shimmered under the soft light, towers glowing, vehicles floating silently, and citizens moving efficiently below. You have changed perceptions, she said quietly, not just in me, but across the court. Your actions have demonstrated that humans can think, adapt, and lead in ways that even seasoned aliens cannot always predict. Alex looked out over the city. Humans have survived and thrived by adapting. We learn quickly and act when necessary. That is what you witnessed. The Queen nodded. And yet, I'm still unsettled. Most humans would not have acted so calmly, so wisely under pressure. Your presence has caused a ripple that reaches further than you know. Alex glanced at her, sensing the rare mixture of respect and uncertainty in her expression. I only did what was necessary, he said simply. Sometimes the unexpected is the only way to succeed. Zira was silent for a moment, then smiled faintly, almost imperceptibly. Yes, the unexpected. It is a quality I have seldom seen in anyone, especially not in humans. As the days passed, Alex's influence continued to grow subtly. He helped improve communication between different factions, corrected minor inefficiencies, and offered guidance on strategic planning. His contributions were never forceful. They were careful, precise, and effective. Some advisors, initially resistant, began to acknowledge his value. They saw the results of his guidance and realized that dismissing him could be a mistake. Others remained cautious, wary of a human soldier gaining respect in the empire. But even their doubts were tempered by the undeniable improvements he had inspired. The Queen, observing all of this, could not ignore the truth. Alex Monroe had proven that humans were capable, intelligent, and resourceful in ways that even her most experienced advisors sometimes failed to recognize. His calm under pressure, strategic thinking, and ability to adapt had caused a shock in the palace, a shock that even she had not anticipated. One afternoon, while reviewing reports of recent improvements, Zyra summoned Alex. "You have changed more than just routines and strategies," she said. "You have changed perceptions. Some officers now hesitate to question your judgment. Others defer to your insight. You have gained respect not through rank or force, but through competence and calm." Alex bowed slightly. "Respect must be earned, Your Majesty. I only acted to help when it was needed." The Queen studied him for a long moment. "You are unlike any human I have met. You act with intelligence, foresight, and courage. That is remarkable. You have caused a shock in my court and in my perception of humanity. I did not expect this." Alex felt a quiet satisfaction, but he remained humble. "I only did what I believed was right. That is all any soldier can do." Zyra nodded slowly. "Perhaps humans are more than I believed. Perhaps your species has potential that has been overlooked. You have shown me that even one individual, acting with wisdom and courage, can influence outcomes in ways that many would not anticipate." As Alex left the chamber, he felt the weight of her words. His actions had made an impact not just on the immediate operations of the Empire, but on the perceptions of one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy. He understood that influence was delicate and must be handled with care, but he also recognized the opportunities ahead. In the days that followed, Alex continued to work quietly but effectively. He guided small improvements in strategy, assisted officers with decision-making, and ensured communication flowed smoothly across the Empire. Each success strengthened his reputation and deepened the Queen's respect. And Queen Zyra, observing from her chambers, could not shake the shock that had been set in motion. A single human soldier, calm, intelligent, and resourceful, had changed perceptions, inspired respect, and demonstrated that humans could be far more capable than she or her court had ever imagined. For the first time in her reign, she wondered not about the strength of her empire alone, but about the potential of a species she had long underestimated. And at the center of that realization was Captain Alex Monroe, a human soldier who had quietly caused a shock that would be remembered for years to come. The days after the rebellion had been quiet, but the palace was never truly silent. Queen Zyra's court continued its routines, yet a subtle shift lingered in the air. Captain Alex Monroe had not only proven himself during the crisis, but had begun to change the perceptions of everyone around him. Officers who had once doubted him now sought his advice. Advisors who had scoffed at humans now regarded him with cautious respect. Even the Queen herself, whose authority was unmatched across the galaxy, could not ignore the shock this human had caused. Alex walked through the palace corridors, observing quietly as he always did. He knew that influence came not from force but from consistent action, reasoned guidance, and calm intelligence. And in those weeks his actions had spoken louder than any words. That morning Zyra summoned him once again. The chamber was bathed in soft light, the holographic displays glowing faintly. She stood at the center, her posture commanding yet relaxed, eyes fixed on him as he approached. "Captain Monroe," she began, her voice steady. "The weeks since the rebellion have revealed something unexpected. Not merely the loyalty or effectiveness of your strategies, but the character of your species." Alex nodded. "Thank you, Your Majesty. I have observed much here, and I have learned more than I can express. I only seek to act wisely and responsibly." The Queen studied him carefully. "Your actions have caused a ripple across my court. Officers, advisors, and even ordinary citizens have begun to reconsider humans. You have demonstrated intelligence, adaptability, and courage in ways that few expected." "That is extraordinary." Alex's expression remained calm. "I only did what I could to assist, Your Majesty. It is not the first time humans have acted effectively in difficult situations. Perhaps your empire simply had not encountered one before." Zyra's eyes flickered with a hint of amusement. "Perhaps. Yet you are different. Most humans would have been reckless or hesitant. You act with precision, foresight, and calm. That is rare, and it challenges everything I believed about your species." Alex inclined his head respectfully. "Humans rely on observation and adaptation. Fear or impulse can lead to mistakes, but careful thought and action can change outcomes. That is what I demonstrated during the rebellion. The queen moved closer, her gaze sharp and penetrating. You have done more than demonstrate skill. You have altered perceptions. Even I, who have ruled and studied countless species, am forced to reconsider what humans can achieve. You are a shock, not of strength alone, but of intelligence, courage, and character. Alex felt a quiet satisfaction, but said nothing more than, I am honored, Your Majesty. Recognition is not my goal, action is. Zyra allowed herself a rare smile, a gesture she reserved for few. Your humility combined with competence is what makes you remarkable. You have changed my understanding of humanity. You have shown that one individual, when careful, observant, and wise, can have a profound effect on the galaxy. The Queen's words resonated deeply in Alex's mind. He had acted not for recognition, but for responsibility and duty. Yet here, in the heart of an alien empire, his actions were reshaping perceptions and earning respect in a way he had not anticipated. In the following days, Alex continued to work quietly, but effectively. He guided officers on strategy, advised advisors on communication efficiency, and suggested minor improvements that had outsized results. Each time he remained calm, respectful, and observant, letting his actions speak rather than words. Even more surprisingly, he began to notice subtle changes in the Queen herself. Zyra, who had always maintained distance and strict control, now sought his perspective more frequently. She asked questions about human decision-making, human strategy, and human thought processes. She was curious not just about outcomes, but about the mind that had produced them. One evening, Alex was invited to a private audience. The chamber overlooked the glowing city below, lights shimmering and flowing streams like liquid. The Queen regarded him thoughtfully. Captain Monroe, she said, your actions have left an impact that goes beyond immediate results. You have caused me to reconsider not only humans, but the very way I approach leadership and judgment. You are a reminder that assumptions can be dangerous. Alex met her gaze steadily. Assumptions can limit understanding, Your Majesty. Observation, analysis, and careful action can reveal truths that assumptions hide. That is what I have tried to do. The Queen walked slowly, her gaze moving from him to the city below. It is rare to meet someone who can inspire respect without demanding it, who can act decisively without arrogance. You have done so, and in doing so you have caused a shock in my court, and in my understanding of your species. Alex remained silent, letting the weight of her words sink in. He understood the significance. In a court that valued hierarchy, discipline, and centuries of tradition, a single human soldier had earned trust, respect, and even admiration. That was no small achievement. Your influence is unusual, Zyra continued. Most beings who enter my court either seek power or act in fear. You act neither. You act with wisdom, precision, and courage. That is a rare combination, and it has caused reflection. Alex nodded. Reflection can lead to understanding, Your Majesty. That is why I observe first, act carefully, and rely on reason. For the next week, Alex continued his work. He assisted in refining training exercises, improving communication between distant garrisons, and offering subtle guidance on strategic decisions. Each success reinforced the growing perception that humans were not to be underestimated. Advisors who had whispered doubts now consulted him quietly, asking for insight into problems they could not solve alone. Officers followed his guidance, noting improvements in efficiency and effectiveness. And throughout it all, the Queen watched, impressed and quietly shaken by the realization that humans could surpass expectation, not with brute strength alone, but with intelligence, calm judgment, and courage. One evening, as the palace quieted, Zyra summoned Alex once more. She stood at the edge of the chamber, her posture regal, yet her expression softened by a rare vulnerability. Captain Monroe, she said, you have caused a shock that I did not anticipate. Not a shock of strength, not of aggression, but of perception. You have shown that humans can influence events profoundly through intelligence, observation, and calm action. That is remarkable. Alex inclined his head. I only acted according to what was needed, Your Majesty. That is all a soldier can do. Zyra's eyes lingered on him. You have demonstrated qualities that are rare in any species. Humility, courage, intelligence, and patience. You have changed the way I view humans, and that change is permanent. You have caused a shock, not only in my court, but in the understanding of your species' potential. Alex allowed a small, respectful smile. I am glad my actions have been useful, Your Majesty. That is all I could hope for. The Queen remained silent for a moment, then spoke again. It is not only your actions that have caused this shock, but your character. One human acting wisely and courageously has altered perceptions across my empire. That is something I cannot ignore. Alex nodded, fully aware of the gravity of her words. He had not sought recognition, but it had come nonetheless. His calm intelligence, strategic thinking, and adaptability had not only prevented disaster, but had reshaped the way one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy viewed humanity. In the days that followed, his role continued to grow subtly. He was no longer just a soldier under observation. He was a valued advisor in matters of strategy and efficiency. Officers, once skeptical, now respected his insight. Advisors, once dismissive, now acknowledged the value of his perspective. And Queen Zira, who had once expected fear or failure, now regarded him with a mixture of respect, curiosity, and admiration. One morning, as Alex reviewed reports from across the Empire, he realized the full impact of what had happened. His actions had caused a ripple far beyond immediate results. Humans, long underestimated, were now seen as capable, intelligent, and resourceful. One soldier, calm and observant, had changed perceptions, inspired respect, and demonstrated that humans could have a profound effect even in a vast alien empire. Queen Zira, observing quietly from her chambers, could not deny the truth. Alex Monroe had caused a shock that no one in her court, or even she herself, had expected. And that shock, born of intelligence, courage, and calm action, would be remembered for years to come. As he prepared for the day ahead, Alex reflected quietly. He had not sought glory or recognition. He had acted with reason, observation, and integrity. Yet those actions had earned trust, respect, and a lasting impact on the Queen and her court. And in the quiet of the palace, under the soft glow of alien light, one human soldier had done what many thought impossible. He had caused a shock that would forever change the way an empire viewed humanity.